In the current space of PC gaming, when there's a new title being launched, the topic that always comes to mind on us PC gamers is the topic of optimization and just how well a game is going to perform and just how well the optimization when it comes to using the resources of your gaming computer. And amongst the PC community, when performance is not quite up to scratch, I know usually the community is usually in a bit of an uproar at poor optimization from game developers if that's the case. But in the recent boom of artificial intelligence upscaling technology in video games, the question that I want to talk about today and try and find some answer is, are developers using DLSS as a quick solution and a quick fix and patch to bad optimization in computer PC games? So let's jump into today's video and discuss. My name is Matthew from MLC Tech here, and now what is DLSS and other AI super sampling technologies? Well, to put it simply, DLSS or Deep Learning Super Sampling is a technology that was developed by NVIDIA. Now we've seen iterations of this in the past, and now DLSS 2.0 has come out, and I have to say it's a very impressive piece of technology. What this essentially does is using deep learning, artificial machine learning, to essentially take an image, let's say, for example, an image rendered at 1080p. That's a reasonable resolution for video cards to render at. And basically what DLSS will do, will take this rendered 1080p image that the graphics card has rendered per frame and essentially use artificial intelligence and deep learning technology to essentially upscale this to a higher resolution, such as 1440p or 4K, and we've even seen DLSS being used to upsample to 8K in some cases. It uses this machine learning technology to essentially fill in the missing pixels to create a much more detailed image. And yeah, I have to say DLSS technology, whilst in some cases I can spot the difference, it's very close, and especially in the midst of gaming, it's going to be very hard for you to actually tell the difference. And yeah, I'm really impressed with this technology, though I'm still someone who tries to avoid DLSS where I can, because I still like to, have a native resolution, a native render on my games, though it definitely does have its performance and benefits. But for the average consumer who doesn't really care much about the nitty-gritty and the technical details of this technology like I do, DLSS is simply a way to increase your game performance. If your performance isn't doing so great in the game, you can literally just toggle DLSS for better, more stable performance. So if you're someone who, you're doing competitive shooting, like perhaps Call of Duty, and you're someone who, favours a higher frame rate over and don't mind losing a little bit of quality in the render itself, which, yes, okay, it can be argued that you're not going to really notice it too much at the moment, but if you're someone who favours a higher frame rate, DLSS is an easy way to achieve that higher frame rate. And this is great for gamers that have a massive performance cost, and is especially useful in ray tracing titles, since ray tracing titles and the technology itself is still very demanding, even on higher end cards. So DLSS is a great way to achieve better performance on very graphical and resource intensive games such as, for example, Cyberpunk, which, yes, that's got a lot of optimization issues itself, and it's also a very demanding game. They both go in hand, unfortunately. But some games get released and some don't perform as well as we expect them to do on the latest and greatest hardware, and only for developers to add DLSS support later in order to increase performance. But is this just, a slapdash band-aid trying to put a plaster and bandage up poorly optimized code? Let's discuss this in more detail. So for example, let's take the recently released Noah 2 for example, as many people have voiced complaints about the poor performance optimization in this recent title. And then the game developers themselves then recently introduced support for DLSS shortly after launch. It wasn't bundled in as a feature to start off with, it was introduced in after there was a load of criticism about the poor optimization and poor performance of this title. The developers then decided, okay, let's just enable DLSS to try and, fix the issue and give people a bit more performance. and many people complained that this was just a way to increase performance without the developers actually taking the time to optimize and work on the game for PC anymore, and literally just using DLSS as a quick sample saying, oh, we've completed the title, performance a bit bad, let's just shove on DLSS and that'll give you better frame rates. We can't be bothered to work and do any more work on the PC release, which, yes, that could be argued, and not a good trend for PC gaming in general, and, well, gaming in general, for developers to essentially feel like they have an excuse to get lazy and get sloppy with their code and optimization. Which is not to say that is strictly the case and where things will go, but it does raise the important point and does highlight that this could be an important issue later down the line. The adoption and widespread adoption of DLSS is still in its infancy when it comes to mainstream and AAA titles, so it's hard to exactly say for now if this indeed is going to be the trend that's going to set for developers later down the line. But if DLSS is such a great technology as I mentioned at the start of the video, what incentive do developers actually have to actually optimize their games if there's technologies like DLSS about, and soon AMD's to be joining this realm as well with their own technology? But what incentive do developers actually have if they can just plaster a game up using deep learning super sampling? And I say about developers using DLSS as a quick patch and a quick fix for poor optimization, but it's good to note that there has been many examples of games that have added DLSS technology after launch and were still very well optimized games. So you can easily argue that it's certainly not happening right now, and at least not yet, that is, where it comes to everyone trying to use this technology as a quick fix. We've seen developers actually bring this to well optimized games and to get even better performance out of a title that's already so well optimized. But like I said, are we getting to the point where developers are going to start using this technology more as it becomes more widespread, more easily available, and more adopted amongst, AAA titles and other game studios? Well, with NVIDIA recently adding a simple Unreal Engine 4 plugin, which makes it easier than ever now to integrate this technology into many game builds, there's a potential for hundreds, if not thousands or more games later down the line to be adding DLSS support in the future. Is there a way that we can hold developers to account and make sure that they just don't get sloppy and lazy with this technology? I don't know. Maybe that could be a good thing, maybe it's not so good. I don't know, it's good. It's easy to be pessimistic and look on the downside of developers potentially getting more lazy and just using this as a quick fix, but it's certainly an interesting point to raise, and a good topic to talk about and discuss about and see what people's thoughts and opinions are. It's a developing technology in an emerging market, so it's hard to properly assess right at this moment just where the future brings, though I do hope that this is not an enabler as an excuse for developers to get lazy and essentially, do piss poor optimization and just think, oh yeah, we can use DLSS to, get better performance out of this title without actually having to take the time to optimize our code to run well on hardware. So anyway guys, I want to hand this topic over to you. What are your thoughts and opinions on this topic? Do you think that developers are starting to use DLSS as more of a quick fix and patch for poor optimization? And what games have you been experiencing with DLSS, and is it a technology that you are really interested in? And is it a technology that you've used and actually benefited from and actually noticed and seen dramatic benefits from using this technology? Just let me know in the comments down below. In general, let's have a conversation, join in on the debate and, talk tech and gaming, and feel free to join in the conversation. So before we conclude today's video, let's see what the community as a whole is thinking on this topic. So we got a couple of small sample surveys just questioning a small bunch of the community on what their thoughts and opinions are on this topic. So the first question was, are developers using DLSS as a way to hide bad optimization in titles? 126 people voted yes and only 13 people voted no. So that's quite a big swing in the opinion of the consumer base thinking that developers are using this technology as a way to hide bad optimization. So the next question we asked community was whether they thought titles with DLSS technology were well optimized or poorly optimized. Now, in this survey, it was a bit more split. Only 5 people voted that this technology was only being used in well optimized games, 87 people were split in between and voted for an equal amount of titles, taking advantage of this, and 18 people voted for poorly optimized titles. So it's a bit, up in the air still there, and people are a bit up in arms and can't quite answer, and more split down the middle on this. And our next question was, do you use DLSS in games that support it? And 67 people voted always, 15 said most of the time, 4 said sometimes, and 31 people said never. So a lot of people in general are either using DLSS a lot more, or in some titles where they think they can benefit more. So, the technology and use of this technology is becoming more widely used among the PC user base. And lastly, the question that we've all had on our minds is, what do you think of the quality of DLSS so far? Now, in this title, 76 people, which is the majority in this survey, voted for great. So a lot of people think that the quality of DLSS is actually pretty good. And 23 people voted for good, 12 people voted for okay, 4 voted for bad, and only 1 person voted for terrible. So it shows that, the general consumer base is actually, like I said, pretty impressed with the overall quality and experience of DLSS. And, like I said at the start of the video, I too am pretty impressed with this technology. So anyway guys, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are. Join the conversation in the comments down below. And I hope you enjoyed today's video and this discussion and debate on DLSS and super sampling technologies in general. Give today's video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And anyway guys, I've been Matthew from MLC Tech. I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode soon. Goodbye.